Tech Engineering Lounge. I'm your host, Camy and with me, I've got our co-host, James SP. Welcome, James.
Hello, good morning.
Today we have with us lovely Olesia. Olesia, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. So Olesia is joining us today for a conversation on taking charge of our engineering career. So Olesia you started your career being a manual tester, and then you transitioned into an automation tester, and now you're a full stack developer. How exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You should be so proud of yourself.
Thank you.
James and I often talk about how a lot of people do transition out of quality engineering space. And while we appreciate that, James and I, because we've made a career in quality in engineering, we do encourage people to stay in quality engineering as well and make a career as we have. But I think we should also celebrate people who want more or have plateaued in their careers in quality engineering and want to move on to something else. And a lot of quality engineers do move into development roles. So that's why we thought today we will have a conversation with Olesia and talk about how the process was, how long it took you, and what you're doing now, what all you did to get here, and what's next for you. So Olesia, do you want to talk about a little bit about your journey, how you started? Like I've covered a little bit of it, but in your own words.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, I started as a manual tester back at home in Ukraine. It was 2016 when I basically didn't know what to do with my life. And I had a friend, she was teaching in one QA school in Ukraine. I guess the IT job was really on demand in Ukraine back there, and everyone was really trying to get into tech and get a job there. So she offered me to try to become a manual tester, and I was like, why not? It seemed like not so hard back there, and I really enjoyed my studying. And just after a few months, as I got my first manual testing role back in Ukraine, I guess I always had the highest grade in a group of people at that QA school, and because of that, my teacher referred me to the company where I got a job. So he really helped me to get my first job. Definitely lucky with him and with his support as well. And then after a year, I moved to New Zealand, and I realized that being just a manual tester wasn't enough anymore. In New Zealand, everyone is kind of trying to be more cross-functional, and as a tester, you always need to do both manual and test automation. So I started to learn programming and eventually moved fully to the test automation role in my previous company. Yeah. And
that is so exciting that you mentioned the word cross-functional, because we just did release a recording on cross-functional teams and T-shaped engineers. So for our listeners and our watchers, if you haven't watched it, go watch our previous episode. But yes, you're absolutely right. Cross-functional, right? That's the flavor for nowadays. So you also write blogs. So you also covered a lot of your journey through blogging on Medium, and I read some of your blogs, and they're so incredibly inspirational. Something that you did mention was that you did 100 days of code challenge.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's how I guess my transition to developer's role actually started with 100 days of code. I didn't really plan to become a developer. I didn't set myself such roles. I think I always deep down wanted to be a developer. I would always be so inspired by other people who were developers. I thought they're so smart, they can do so many things. And especially in my previous company, all developers, they also did a lot of testing. I felt like they knew everything. But when I started 100 days of code, I thought that I could build some websites that I could use later for the test automation. I will be able to explore different automation tools and basically do whatever I want, from the testing point of view with this site. So that was my initial goal. But I guess at some stage I realized that first I really loved front-end development. I started with React. It seemed so interesting for me and so exciting. And then I lost my interest in the testing. Like after I got my first dev experience, testing didn't seem so interesting anymore. I felt like even the test automation, like all they can use different automation tools, but they basically do the same things, from, for example, when you write end-to-end tests for websites, you could use Selenium or you could use like Cypress or Playwright, but the whole concept how these tools work is the same. So once you learn one tool, it's not so interesting to learn a different tool anymore. And I guess I really love learning and exploring new things. And I love when I do different things. Like as soon as I learn something too well, I get a bit bored. So that's maybe what happened with me in the test automation area. And so I decided then that's probably a good motivation and time for me to become a developer.
Were you doing test automation in JavaScript, which kind of naturally led into some React stuff? Or was it
so I guess that was a huge point that helped me to move to dev role, because I did all my test automation in JavaScript and TypeScript. I actually started my automation journey with Java and C# and Selenium, but eventually when I worked in the warehouse group, I rebuilt all automation testing with JavaScript and WebDriver IO. And since then, I would always use JavaScript for building test automation, because especially in my previous place, we didn't have any other testers. It was just me and a group of developers. And I really wanted them to contribute to testing and test automation. I realized I couldn't do everything by myself. So I chose TypeScript because they all knew it and they all could contribute.
Yep, exactly. I think that's exactly the right way to do it. Yeah. And do you, sorry, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I have this theory that if you have a background as a tester, especially with, not especially, but, with test automation background, that makes you a better developer. And vice versa, if you've got to learn some React, that probably makes you sort of feeds into your test automation skill set as well. But do you feel like that's the case? Do you feel like having that background in quality gives you a bit of an advantage?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, because I think as a tester, you understand how many possible bugs could happen. And I really don't want to break anything, so I tend to actually over-test my own changes so much. I'm being so careful when I'm developing something. I would always test, twice, 3 times, just in case. And then I would always be that person who would write a lot of unit tests. Let's write also integration tests and end-to-end tests, everything just to make sure that it all keeps working, because I simply don't want to break anything. I think, it definitely helps me a lot. And I think it is my advantage now.
One of the things that I read on your blog was, so this was the blog where you were giving a bit of advice on people who want to be on the same journey. And something that I found very valuable was that start with just one programming language instead of trying to learn different automation tools and test frameworks. Just make sure you have a solid foundation in one programming language. I found that incredibly valuable, because that's how I started. I pretty much learned Java at uni, and that's the only language I've learned properly in my career. And everything after that just kind of comes through.
Yeah, I think people tend to make this mistake when they just start, and they think that if you full stack, you need to know everything. They try to learn so many different languages at once, or all possible UI frameworks, React, Angular, Vue. But if you just learn one language or one framework, you could always easily learn a different one if you need it. But just focus on, the basics first.
I think you kind of know too, and I think, Olesia, you kind of have touched on this, is that you got to sort of a ceiling or a limit with test automation, and that's when you knew it's time to do something different. And I think when you're learning different languages, different technologies as well, as you've reached your peak, it's time to find a new challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that you kind of, with your blog content and your Instagram content, Olesia, as you talk to sort of learning and building those habits of learning every day. I think that's really cool. And I don't know if you want to talk to sort of how that's come about, and I guess your passion for learning.
Yeah, I think you should be as developer or as any software engineer, because everything is changing so fast. There are always some new frameworks appear. Like, it's good if you at least know about these trends. The new frameworks that appear, they tend to be much better than the old one, because of course they learn from their mistakes, so they do a lot of improvements. And you don't want to be, that developer who uses like some old tool just because I know it's working for me 10 years. Why would I learn something new? You want to pick up new things. And I think that's probably the most important, part of attitude you need to have. Like, maybe you could be not so strong from technical point of view right now, but, you can always improve technical skills. But if you're not willing to learn, can you really be a good developer? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And this was I think this was again on your blogs, like one of the reasons why you did the motivation was also building a habit of learning every day, which again, I find absolutely fascinating, because like for me, growth mindset and staying curious is really important. Like, my worst fear is stagnation, whether in a relationship, in a job, or in any situation. So being curious and learning every day is really, really cool. And you did that, you enforced that, and you made yourself accountable, and you created that discipline every day by following 100 Days of Code Challenge, which you completed. And then eventually you moved on to 365 Days of Code Challenge, which is again fascinating. Congratulations.
Thanks. I think it's just really hard to start, especially if you have a full-time job, and sometimes you don't learn at this full-time job so much anymore. But you still, you spend so much time working and you get tired, and then we all have life outside work. So it seems like so hard to start learning something new. But in reality, you could spend just like 20 minutes, but every day, and there will be big progress in a long term.
I think that's really key, right? Is carving out that little bit of time. I talk to a lot of, this is a really common problem, especially in testing, that people face is, I want to learn some automation skill, but I'm so busy doing all the other testing work that I've got to do that I run out of time to do any learning. And it can be only carving out that sort of, 20 minutes a day that will do it. But I guess you're the proof, right, that a little bit every day is going to, get you to where you want to go, rather than sort of saying, oh, I'm too busy all the time.
Definitely. Yeah. I think people often make mistakes. They think they need to really invest a lot of time in learning, especially with 100 Days of Code. I saw people study until like 5 a.m. every day, but then they give up like as a day 20 because of, they get too tired. You need to sleep, you need to rest. But yeah.
And I think this is something where one of the other things on your blogs was like letting going of perfection and making your own rules, which again, I totally wholeheartedly agree with. So something like you said, like if you're getting up at 5 a.m. to do like a boot camp or 100 Days of Code Challenge, of course you're going to give up by day 21. Who gets up at 5 a.m. first of all? And then like coding at 5 a.m. in the morning or even 6 a.m. in the morning, maybe like 7 to 8 or 8 to 9. If you work from home, there would be a good cadence. So you have to be realistic about how much you can do. And I think even in your blogs, you said that like there were some days when you were not able to do it, and that's okay. Like you talked about rest and recovery as well, which I again found quite fascinating.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I also did that mistake. Like I studied every day before my job. Like I would wake up at 5 and then go to do my full-time job, and then I would come back home, have dinner, and study again until like midnight. And I was studying every weekend. And I think eventually, in the middle of my challenge, I got so tired and a bit of burnout. But at that time, I went to Australia for 1 week, and it really helped me to switch and rest. And I came back, the second part of my challenge, I was a bit smarter, studied less.
So you did get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
like 3 months.
yeah. Because when you just study, like you realize there's so many things you need to know, like even to build a simple website. For me, it was not just React, but I also didn't know the stage CSS. And I just you feel like, oh, I want to learn everything at once because I want this website to be running as soon as possible. You want to see the progress as soon as possible, but you need to take some time, and you just need to see the long run.
Did you buy any course of Udemy? Like, were you following a boot camp or a course, or were you had your own plan and you were following your own structure every day?
Yeah, I did. I bought one React course on Udemy. There is this company, Academic. I guess they're very famous. They got a lot of different tutorials, so I like their courses. I got the React one because I did the official React tutorial first, but I didn't really learn anything from there. I think it's yes, they probably assume that you need to have some front-end development experience already. So for me, it wasn't enough. It helped me, but at the same time, I was building my own project, so I didn't want just to follow tutorial. I wanted to apply it on my own thing. So what I did, like, for example, 2 days I could watch tutorial, and then the next 2 days I would work on my project, my side.
Cool. If I can redirect this a little bit, something that's I think is really interesting is the career change from an official testing title to an engineering title. Because one thing is the skill set, but the other thing is the opportunity as well. Like, did you move within the same company you were at, or did you, were you skilled enough that, you felt you could go out and apply for front-end engineering jobs? What was the transition like?
I have moved in the same company where I was hired as a test automation engineer. And as I said, like we had very cross-functional teams. The company was working in DevOps culture. Like they wanted developers to take care of quality, and they didn't want to hire like a special QA department who will do like testing after developers. So I felt like it was a perfect environment for me to move from tester to developer, and everyone was really great in that place. So they all supported me, and one day I just said, my manager, I was learning React. I want to do development now. He said, yes, that's cool. You can do that. So I picked up my first dev ticket from backlog. And since then, I was just working on developer stories only. And I guess the one thing that I think really helped me to move is that at that stage, the test automation progress was already really good because I was hired to build all automation testing to set up it from scratch. So I think I met these requirements. All testing were running really well, and the vacation bugs, and developers were writing these tests as well. So it wasn't just me who knew how to deal with test automation. So I think that really helped me. That's why they supported my decision to move to their role.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's probably something to be said there as well for just doing a good job and being good at what you're doing to get those other opportunities, right? Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything else? Like, was it so clear in your mind, development is for me? Or, did you consider like, maybe I want to be a product manager, or maybe I want to move to DevOps, or move into management? Were any of those options for you? Or was it,
I was considering DevOps at some stage. Like I was really into DevOps as well, and infrastructure. Like I was thinking DevOps could be a nice transition for me as well. But I guess I decided that as developer, you can basically do everything. I can still do infrastructure. I do it at work now. I do a lot of testing still, So I feel like when you full stack developer, you have less limits. Like you basically can pick up any type of work. So that was the reason why I choose development.
Especially if you're in a cross-functional team, right?
Yeah.
It's like that cross-functional team allows you to generalize in all of those areas along with your specialization as a full stack dev.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I think, James, you pointed like there's a really good point there. So apart from an individual's like accountability and discipline and consistent and continuous learning, focus and clarity, it's also important for organizations to create that environment and to provide them those opportunities where individual contributors who are performing at a really, they're pretty much at peak of their performance, they can be given those opportunities to move to that next role, because Olesia clearly plateaued out of the automation testing role that she was in, and she's quite technical. So developer, like providing her that opportunity where she can move into a full stack dev role sounds like a great opportunity. And I'm really glad that your team and your organization supported you. Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I love to see it. I've actually seen people move both ways, move from engineering into quality, and from quality into sort of pure engineering roles, and excel in both cases. And it's just kind of, it's nice, seeing someone go, I'm going to make this change and start working towards it and make a career shift.
Yeah.
Any doubts or fears as you were making that change?
Yeah, of course, I actually had a lot of doubts. I think I really sometimes overthink everything. And for me personally, my job matters a lot to me because I feel like I spend so much time working, and I want to be really happy at my job. I don't want to work only for money. I want to really enjoy what I'm doing. So I had a lot of doubts. Like I felt, I guess at this stage, at that stage, I felt like I had achieved something as a test automation engineer. Like I had really strong background, really awesome experience. I had quite a lot of other possible job opportunities. Recruiters would always message me about some great roles. And I was, I guess, scared that if I move to developer, would I, survive the competition? Would I be able to pass technical interview as developer? Because of course it's harder. And at the same time, I don't have a proper computer science degree. I didn't study in computer science degree, and I was scared that again, would I survive competition with people who go to university, spend 5 years studying to become a developer, and I was just studying by myself with Google and Udemy. But then I decided, that I would rather regret that I have tried and failed than I haven't even tried. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm moving to developer's role now, and if I want to come back to testing, then I can always do that.
That's the thing, right? You can always do that, and people do that. So that, I really like that approach. Do you think you would ever make that? Would you ever switch back now that you've had a taste?
No.
Say no.
No. Yeah, I don't think so. No. I think I still do a lot of testing. I prefer to work in this cross-functional environments where, as developer, I'm responsible for everything from end to end for delivering my work, and I want to care about quality. I still some amount of testing, but definitely I will not switch to the full-time testing role.
So you're a great example of T-shaped engineer. You're truly T-shaped in your role right now, where you have all of those skills that you can pretty much do anything across the board. That's amazing. I just wanted to also talk about work-life balance, and I think I know we've touched upon this a little bit earlier as well, because you're from Ukraine. I hope your family's okay in Ukraine.
Thank you.
Because we all have stuff happening in our personal lives that tends to impact what we do for work. So on top of that, deciding to change a career and carving out time every day to be able to work on it, how do you do that? Like, how do you let go of all of that anxiety and all of that fear and focus on what is in front of you, or what plans you have for future? Because it's so hard to kind of like say to someone or give advice to someone to do it, but you are someone who's already done it. So I was hoping if you have any advice, or what's your mental process like when you are going through anxiety and fear and doubts? How do you, because you are still on your journey, like you did 365 days of Code Challenge, like people can't even finish 100 days, you did 365 days. So how did you stay on track?
I guess I don't feel like, some days I don't feel like I stay on track. Of course, I also have bad days, and I feel like I don't have enough time for anything. Like, I've got a list of ideas and I don't know how we find time to implement them. But I still try to, first of all, I try to use the working time and like be as much productive as I can. Like, I try to remove all distractions. I use a Pomodoro technique every day. I've got the music that I play every time when I'm working. So whenever it's like I turn it on, my brain knows it's time for work. I try not to work more hours, but be more productive during the hours that I actually need to work. And after work, I always take breaks. Like at 5 p.m., that's my gym time. I go to gym almost every day to different activities. I think it's important to move because I sit every day. It's like spend a lot of time not really moving. So I prefer hobbies where I can do some physical activity. And because I've got this gym classes, I just 5 p.m. I turn off my laptop and I go to gym, and then after gym I'm too tired to work anymore, so that's it.
Yep. I was just gonna ask that how often do you review like your goal? Like, do you do some sort of goal setting and then you like track your progress and review it like every month or like every 2 weeks how you're tracking?
It's of course like really hard to plan some specific goals for future. Like, I've got a list of ideas that ideally I would like to do. Like, for example, I would like to pass AWS certification probably next year. Like, that's in my list. And I don't set any specific deadlines anymore because I feel like it's just stressing me out, especially if something like happening, in personal life. It's just really hard then to focus. I got they all on a sticky notes and just next to my desk where I'm working from home. So I look at them every day, and I think that really helps me to remember about them. So, once I have time, I just pick up one of ideas and work on it. And I also have a list of skills that I want to improve. Like, I want to be better in coding. Like, I want to write cleaner code. I want to learn JavaScript even better. So during my lunch times, for example, I watch JavaScript tutorials and these kind of things, whatever I'm working on to improve. I try to use the time more efficient.
Yeah.
I need to ask what kind of music you're listening to when you're coding.
I only listen the piano covers, some music without words, because I've read somewhere that if you listen to music with words, your brain is still trying to focus on understanding these words, so it's spending extra energy on music. So,
100%.
Yeah, yep. Only piano music for me.
Cool.
Nice. You seem like, from reading all your blogs, you seem like someone who is very clear and knows where you're going. So,
thanks.
That is amazing. That's amazing. We've talked about the advice. Like, if this is not trying to put you on spot, but if you were to, if someone who is in a similar role, they're a tester or they're a BI or they're coming from a total non-engineering background and they want to become a developer, what would be like your top 2 or top 3 things that you would tell them, like very basic stuff, or like your 3 golden rules that you would tell them, like what worked for you and what advice would you give them?
I guess I will say that first of all, don't try to learn everything at once, because that's impossible. You just need to accept it. You can't know everything, and that's fine. And then second, always study consistently. Like, it's better to, that's what we just talked about, to study less time per day, but consistently every day, and you will see the progress eventually. And also, it's always like, I always tell people that before, you start studying, you need to understand at least what type of developer or software engineer you want to be. For example, I like to just look at open roles and do like research. If like when I was looking into becoming a developer, like I knew that I was interested in front end because it's something that I can see, and it just looked more exciting for me. So I've chosen front end developer role at first, and then I needed to choose like framework that I will learn for building front end, like React, Angular, or Vue. So I went on LinkedIn and looked at the open developers roles and just choose React, because that was more on demand. When you just starting to study, you want to learn something that's more on demand, so you can get a job faster, because you will never learn as much at home as you can learn at the real job on a real project.
Yeah, totally.
100%.
Yeah. What are your views on networking? Like, did any sort of networking help you? Because a lot of youngsters or a lot of people coming into the into the industry focus way more on networking. Like, so sometimes I feel like, and as great as it is to go to meetups and conferences and to connect with other people on LinkedIn, I think it's really also important to pretty much like follow the top 3 golden nuggets that you just told us. Like you have to do the hard work, So like for you, did networking help you? Like, how and where?
Yeah, I think it did. I think networking is definitely really important. Like, you need to sell yourself, probably. You need to let people know about it, like you exist and you got the skills and this experience that you can, offer to the companies and bring value to them. So I guess like even writing like Medium blog really helps, because first, like when you're writing about something, you learn it even better, and then, it's something you can add to your portfolio, to your CV. Like having nice portfolio is good as well. Lots of people do different types of blogging. I think that helps a lot. And in my case, like with my current job, they reached out to me, so they found me. So I think probably networking helped. I was not looking for exactly this job, and so I think that's definitely a huge part of like how you know are you successful as developer or not so much, because a lot of good people with good technical skills, but they lack of communication skills and soft skills, and they don't know how to present themselves. So
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good call out, is that like a big chunk of being a good tester, being a good engineer, is those people skills, those human skills, and networking is something that fosters that, right? It helps you grow that sort of skill set, as opposed to, learning React, which is great and necessary, and you need to do that part of it as well. But we often forget there's actually a whole other side to engineering, that's communicating and talking to people, that needs to be fostered and encouraged and grown. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think soft skills even harder to work on. Like, you can learn React pretty fast. Like, it's easier to improve technical skills than soft skills.
Yeah. I feel like we need to do like a segment on just communication skills for engineers at some stage, James. Maybe next.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Olesia, what's next for you? Like, do you want to stay a full stack dev for a few years and keep learning, or like what plans do you have for future?
Yeah, I don't have any specific plans. I'm focusing on improving my technical skills now. I want to be, more full stack. Like I was focused on React for some time. Now I'm doing more backend development and infrastructure. So yeah, I'm really trying to become actually full stack developer, and also want to write better code and just think more about the product as developer, like the business value of the product I'm working on, and like work on improving these skills. I think that's my plan for the next few years, and then we'll see.
There's kind of some terms. So you started out as a front-end developer, and now you're using the term full-stack developer. Has there been a transition there as well, or is it just kind of a natural progression that you kind of ended up?
Yeah, it was just natural because I did full stack even in my previous place. Like it wasn't so much backend development, but I did it a little bit just because there are not so much front end work at some stage. So I will pick up something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The company that you were working on, was it like a small scale organization? Because I think it's like that cross-functional environment is more common, or is more encouraged in small scale organizations where there are less people. So you have to, like, you don't have any other choice, and you need to learn all of those things.
The company I'm working for now, it's very big. It's enterprise company, but we all split it in a small dev team. So for example, in my teams, there are probably 6-7 people. I'm not sure I need to count, but we're very small. So that really allows us to be more cross-functional and full stack. We again don't have, like in our team, at least we don't have specific QA people who will do testing after us. So we do testing after ourselves, and our team is like responsible for building, for delivering the part of work we need to deliver from end to end. Yeah.
Cool. Don't know, this kind of feels like an ending question. I don't think we're ending yet, but I do want to make sure we get it in there. If you were to do a bit of a retrospective now, so you started out 2016, so that's 6 years. And you've had this really interesting career trajectory. If you could go back, what would you do differently? Anything?
I guess I would just probably believe more in myself. Like I think in general, like I wouldn't change, the steps I had during all this transition. I think every experience, like every job experience I had was really amazing. Like I always worked with cool people and in good companies. I always had the best managers, the best teams. Like, I would learn a lot from the people who I worked with. So I would not like trade it for anything. Like it's fine that it took me some time to move to dev role. And then the testing experience is testing background is valuable for me now. But I guess, I will definitely, believe more in myself. I think maybe even I will become faster developer if I believed more in myself, because I had this idea for like few years, but I was like so scared to start doing something. I had so many doubts, and I was like, I'm not too sure if I'm good enough, but it's just like skills. If you really like put some work into it, if you learn, then you can get there. Yeah, that's probably the only thing that I will change.
Cool. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Your blogs are so beautiful. I'm going to link all of them, your Medium blog, in our show notes. But yeah, your blogs are so beautiful. Like you come across as someone who is very wise for their age. It's beautiful. Like one of the other blogs that you wrote was about criticism. And you had like receiving feedback or giving feedback. And it was so spot on. You had like 5 or 6 points where you were exactly like, if you're trying to give someone feedback, tell them exactly what they can improve on. Just don't say that like someone because a lot of people just use like general, like this is not good enough. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I found that fascinating.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess people are not perfect, so sometimes it happens. But,
Yeah.
If you give feedback like you don't meet the requirements, I don't know why, I don't know what to change, but I just feel like you don't meet requirements, it's not going to help anyone. You really need to focus on some examples. Like for me personally, I'm open for negative feedback as well. If you tell me examples like at least what I did wrong, maybe then I can think by myself, how can I improve it? But there are no examples, nothing. How do I know?
Exactly. That's why I think it was pretty spot on. Like you were literally telling people like how to give feedback, and it was some practical advice that even made me think the way I give other people feedback. Well done.
I'm glad.
I think I've run out of all the questions. I don't even have any trick questions for you today, James.
What you've just said is another great data point for our episode on communication skills for engineers.
Yes.
We can come back to that. Look, I guess a good way to wrap it up, Olesia, is other people will be wanting to go on the same journey you've done. And like I know that for a fact. This is your time to give your advice to anyone that might be watching. What would you say to someone else that wants to make that same career transition or any sort of career transition?
Yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's fine. Just try it. If you're thinking about it already, just try it. And if you regret later, it's fine. But don't spend too much time just thinking. Start doing something.
Make it happen.
Yes.
Awesome.
I've found your example, your story to be absolutely fascinating. Like, honestly, like reading all your blogs and getting to know you, you're just someone who just made it happen. Like, and I'm just absolutely loving, and I love this conversation. It's just a fresh burst of energy and inspiration for me. And I don't know, James, maybe kind of like when we get to this midlife field, people tend to feel a little bit stuck, and I think Olesia was the person who I needed to talk to this week to kind of like get out of that.
Look, I'm on my fourth midlife crisis already. This is just happened.
Thank you.
But before we wrap it up, I guess, Olesia, where can we find you if we want to see more of your content or follow your learning journey?
Definitely, on Medium, I do have a small Instagram blog as well, but it's a bit funny content. It's not probably so helpful as Medium blog. But on LinkedIn, of course.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the other things that I also want to point out before we wrap up, that you share your knowledge with people, like you're actually writing Medium blogs. So I know a lot of people who have transitioned from non-engineering roles to engineering roles, but they never share their journey with everyone. And that's absolutely fine. But for people who do share their journey and kind of like go above and beyond and, are trying to create a community and encourage other people, inspire other people, I find that absolutely great. So thank you. Thank you for sharing all that inspiration and your good energy. Like I learned a lot from it.
Thanks.
So well done again.
Thanks for reading my blog. And thanks for inviting me here today. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful to chat. And obviously thank you, Camy, as well, for all the stuff you do about making these. If anyone that's watching is not aware, Camy is like the one that makes sure I turn up on time and actually, does all the hard stuff.
Thanks, James.
Be lost without her as well. It's been great chatting to both of you. Camy, I'll leave it to you to do the like and subscribe talk because you're so much better than I am.
Oh, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. We do have decent number of subscribers. Like, given we talk for like almost an hour, a lot of people don't know us. But I think we are up to like 75 subscribers. And I'm pretty sure at least half of them are your and my friends and our ex-colleagues and our colleagues who are our regular listeners. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of our supporters. Thank you so much. yeah, and we'll see everyone in a fortnight or so. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Olesia.
Thank you again, guys.
Thank
Have
you,
a nice
James.
day. Bye.
Thank you all. See you.
Bye.